Algebra 2, we're going to simplify rational expressions today. So we're going to start off with some review. These are called monomials. So we just got done doing this type of a section. So what you need to know is that your numbers divide to simplify, and then when you're dividing variables, you subtract their exponent. All right, so we have 3 goes into 15 5 times. Since the bigger number's on top, that answer is going to stay on top. When we divide variables, we subtract exponents. That x doesn't have an exponent, so that means there's an implied 1 there. So I'm going to go 3 minus 1, and I'm going to have x to the second on top in a minute. I have y to the fifth divided by y to the fifth. Anytime you divide anything by itself, that totally cancels each other out. So my good final answer is 5x squared. On number 2, we need to distribute this exponent of a 4 to all of my denominator terms. So nothing changes on top yet. When I go 2 to the 4th power, that gives me 16. And then a to the 4th is a to the 4th. And then b is also to the 4th power. Because when you take an exponent to an exponent, you multiply them, and there's an invisible 1 there. Numbers divide or reduce. So what is the biggest number that divides into 24 and 16 evenly? And I'm going to divide an 8 into them. So 24 divided by 8 is 3, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. So that reduces down to 3/2. Now let's go work on the variables. When you divide variables, you subtract exponents. I always do big minus little. So I'm going to go 4 minus 2. And same thing with the b's. I'm going to go 4 minus 2 as well. So I don't have any variables left on top because that's where all of the smaller exponents were. And then a, 4 minus 2 is 2, and b, 4 minus 2 is 2. There's my good final answer. And when we get down to number 3 and 4, so now we have polynomials. And on number 3, we have a trinomial on top and we have a trinomial on bottom. What is super important is that you have to learn that we cancel factors, not terms. Terms are things as separated by addition or subtraction signs. So there are 1, 2, 3 terms on top, and there are 1, 2, 3 terms on bottom. You are absolutely not allowed to cancel out those x squareds. That is not allowed because those are terms. We need to factor them. So I have a trinomial on top. So anytime you have a trinomial, we're going to make an ACB chart. So when I make my ACB chart, I need factors of negative 21 that add to negative 4. So 7 times 3 is 21. It has to add up to negative 4. Therefore, the 7 needs to be the negative number. So that means that numerator factors as x minus 7 and x plus 3. The denominator is also a trinomial, so it gets an ACB chart as well. I need factors of 12 that add up to 7. So 3 times 4 is 12, and that does add up to 7. X plus 3 and x plus 4. These are factors. So if you have a like factor on top and bottom, they can cancel each other out. So I'm going to cancel my x plus 3's, and then my good final answer is x minus 7 divided by x plus 4. Once again, these are terms. You are absolutely not going to cancel out those x's. All done, moving on. Number 4, I have x squared minus 16. This is called the difference of squares. We factored this at the beginning of the year. We have two terms. They're both perfect squares, and there's a subtraction sign between them. If you take the square root of each one of those, the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4. So once you take the square root, this factors as x plus 4 and x minus 4. So anytime you have two perfect squares and there's no middle term, this factors, they're both the same, but one is a plus and one is a minus. So my numerator factors as x plus 4, x minus 4. My denominator is a trinomial, so I need factors of 24 that add up to 10. So if you have a hard time thinking of them, just start making a list. My factors are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And then that adds up to 25. Nope, you're not it. That adds up to 14. Nope. You add up to 11. Nope. That one adds up to 10. That is my winner. This denominator factors x plus 4, x plus 6. I have matching factors on top and bottom, so they cancel each other out. And therefore, I'm just left with x minus 4 divided by x plus 6. Number 5. I have x to the 4th minus 4x squared. You always want to ask yourself, is there a GCF? Is there a greatest common factor? And there is. The GCF is x squared because both terms have an x. So I factor out my x squared. So I bring my GCF down in front, and then I'm going to divide. X to the 4th divided by x to the 2nd gives me x to the 2nd. Negative 4x squared divided by x squared, so the x squareds cancel each other out, and I'm left with negative 4. Just because you factor once doesn't mean that you're done. You need to fully factor every single expression. X squared minus 4 is also the difference of squares, just like we did. I have two perfect squares, no middle term, and a subtraction sign. So you take the square root of each of those, you get an x there, and the square root of 4 is 2. So that factors as x plus 2, x minus 2. And then you still have to bring down and keep that original GCF that you factored out. So this numerator factors is x squared, x plus 2, x minus 2. Now I have this denominator here. I need to factor this trinomial. So I'm going to make an ACB chart. I need factors of 18 that add up to 11. So 9 times 2 is 18, and they add up to 11. So my denominator factors is x plus 9 and x plus 2. You look and see if there's any factors common to the numerator and denominator. There are. I'm going to cancel out my x plus 2's. And then what's left in my numerator? X squared times x minus 2. And then in my denominator, I have x plus 9. Good final answer right there. Number 6. I need to factor 2x squared plus x minus 3. So I have a trinomial. I'm going to make an ACB chart. I need factors of -6 that add up to 1. So 2 times 3 is 6. It has to add up to a positive, therefore the 2 has to be negative. So this factors as x minus 2, x plus 3. Anytime you have a number other than 1 in front of your x squared, this is where we're going to use that divide and slide rule. So you divide both of the numbers by 2 in this case, because that's the a term. You got to divide by whatever is right there. If it reduces nicely, then you're going to go ahead and reduce it. If it doesn't reduce nicely, like 3/2 doesn't reduce any further, you take your denominator and you slide it up in front of the x. So that means this numerator factors as x minus 1, 2x plus 3. Now we're going to factor the denominator. I need factors of 10 that add up to -11. So 1 times 10 is 10, and that adds up to 11. It has to add up to -11, so that just means that both of them have to be negative, because a negative times a negative equals a positive. So that factors as x minus 1 and x minus 10. I have common factors of x minus 1 in the numerator and denominator. They cancel out. Therefore, my answer is 2x plus 3 divided by x minus 10. All done. Number 7, you always have to look for a GCF. The first thing you should always do. So I need to factor x cubed minus x squared minus 72x. Every single term has an x, so I'm factoring out an x from all of them. You bring down your GCF, and then when you divide variables, you subtract exponents. That's how I get x squared minus x minus 72. Everything has to be fully factored. Just because you do one thing doesn't mean that you're done. Now I have this trinomial right here, and I'm going to make an ACB chart. I need factors of -72 that add up to -1. So 8 times 9 is 72, and they're 1 unit apart. And it has to add up to -1, so therefore my 9 is the -1. So this factors as x plus 8, and x minus 9. So I'm going to rewrite that numerator in this factored form. I don't know why I just put parentheses around that x. It doesn't hurt anything, but it's not necessary. Denominator. X to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 32x squared. Always, always, always factor out your GCF first. So I see that everybody has an x, and in fact an x squared. So x squared is my GCF. When you divide, you subtract exponents. So this gets me an x squared plus 4x minus 32. Now I'm going to work on my trinomial right here. I need factors of -32 that add up to 4. So I know that 8 times 4 is 32, and they're 4 units apart. It has to add up to a positive 4, so my negative has to go on the smaller number. So this factors is x squared, x plus 8, and x minus 4. So I'm going to rewrite my denominator with this right here. Now you're going to look for like terms in the numerator and denominator and cancel. So the x plus 8, they cancel each other out. These are monomials. So this is really just like problem 1 and 2 that you did. So when you divide variables, you subtract exponents. So there's an invisible 1 on that x. And so I'm going to subtract it and cancel it out. So in the numerator, you're just left with x minus 9. And in the denominator, you have that x and this x minus 4 factor. So I got to cancel these because they were factors, that it was showing as multiplication. There's no addition or subtraction sign between it and the next term. So you're allowed to cancel and reduce them when it's multiplication only. Number 8. Let's see if there's anything at all that I can cancel initially, and then I'm going to factor. So I see a matching x plus 5 in the numerator and denominator, so I'm going to cancel those out. And then I have this trinomial here, x squared plus 2x minus 8. I'm going to make an ACB chart. I want factors of negative 8 that add to 2. So 4 times 2 is 8, and it has to add up to the positive, so the 2 has to be negative. So this is going to factor as x plus 4, x minus 2. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this numerator. I keep my 2x. I'm writing this in factored form as x plus 4, x minus 2. My denominator, I'm just rewriting it. Oh, okay, so now that I factored that trinomial, now I have these x minus 2 factors that are common that I can cancel as well. And so my good final answer is 2x times x plus 4 divided by x minus 1. That's my good final answer. Thanks.